Hello students, welcome back to Tuition Masters, and today we are going to start with the chapter 5 of grade 9 biology, that is the fundamental unit of life. And today is our lecture number 1, and in our upcoming sessions we'll complete this chapter. So, students, when I say fundamental unit of life, what is that unit in our body that is a very fundamental, it's very important in our body, that is our cells. Correct? This is how a cell looks like, right? Now we all know that why is cell known as fundamental unit, because we all know the level of organization. First, there are cells in the body. Now many cells, they will make up a tissue. Correct? Many cells will make up a tissue. Now when there are many tissues, they will make a organ. Correct? They will make an organ. Now when there are many organs, it will make an organ system. Right? It will make an organ system. And when there are many organ systems, then it will make a whole made what? Organism. Correct? It will make a whole organism. So with this entire relation, what can you bifurcate? That the main unit is cell only. Correct? From cell only a organism is made. Cell, then tissue, then organ, then organ system, then organism. So this means cell, it is the structural, it is the structural and functional unit of life. Functional unit of life. So that is why it is known as the fundamental unit. Correct? Now you might have even studied in grade 8 about the fundamental unit of life, that is cell, but there you have studied in like upper things only. Now we're going to go in a bit detail and study. So here is how a cell looks like. It has various organelles like mitochondrion, lysosome, then centriole, Golgi apparatus, cell coat, etc. etc. Correct? So in a today's session, we are going to do an introduction towards cell and its cell organelles. So as what are we going to study? Let's go step by step. Firstly, we are going to do the cell theory. Who were the various scientists who contributed to making cells? Then types of cell, unicellular and multicellular. The basic structure. What are the basic components of cell? Then covering of cell. What is the covering of cell? The cell membrane, cell wall. Then the fluid of the cell, cytoplasm, and the headquarter of the cell, nucleus and its components. So these topics we are going to cover in this video, so stay tuned till the end. So let's start with the cell theory. Now there were various scientists from 1665 to 1855. Till this much duration, the cell theory, this was duration that cell theory was revolving around. So first person to put the concept was Robert Hooke. First person, Robert Hooke. What did he do is that he had observed dead cell through a self-designed microscope. He had made his own microscope, and in which from a cork, you know what is a cork? It's a wood, kind of wood which you put on bottles. So in that slice of cork, he had observed dead cells through what? Through his own design microscope. Who? Robert Hooke. After that, second one in 1674 came Leeuwenhoek. Who was Leeuwenhoek? Antonio van Leeuwenhoek. He had observed free living cells in pond water. Now, what was Robert Hooke's observation? He had got the dead cells. The main thing is dead cells. But when I say about Leeuwenhoek, he had seen living cells in the pond water, like maybe of the fungi or some other alga. In that, he had seen the living cells in pond water. In the third place came Robert Brown. Okay, Robert Brown in 1831. He, in when these two had discovered that okay, cell is there, so he discovered the first thing of the cell, which is the nucleus. He had discovered the nucleus in the cell. That okay, then this cell, the main thing, the brain of the cell is the nucleus. After that, in 1839 came Purkinje. What did Purkinje do? He gave the term protoplasm for the fluid substance of the cell. Now, what do we mean by protoplasm? Protoplasm means that, so I'll extend on the new slide. So when I say Purkinje, so Purkinje had discovered the term protoplasm. He gave the term protoplasm. Now what was protoplasm according to him? He said that protoplasm was a fluid substance of the cell. But actually protoplasm is fluid. Okay, it is fluid, and it is the combination of the nucleus as well as the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm plus the nucleus gives us protoplasm. So this is what Purkinje had said to us. After that came the two people to give up the cell theory, that is Skleden and Schwann. Now Skleden and Schwann, they had proposed a cell theory. That what was the theory? All the plants and animals are composed of cells, and that the cell is the basic unit of life. This was a Skleden and Schwann theory, cell theory. I'll be giving you more notes right now for the Skleden and Schwann cell theory and Rudolf Virchow's theory. So yes, let's do this short thing, then I'll write it in proper notes. After that, Rudolf Virchow in 1855, he said that he added few more points in the Skleden-Schwann cell theory, and he said that the cell arise from the pre-existing cells. Whatever are my pre-existing, this is my pre-existing cell. Now new cells will arise from this cell only. It will arise from this cell only. This was what his Rudolf Virchow's theory was, and with this, the what do we say, the cell theory was finally covered. Now let's understand what were the main 3 points which were given by Skleden and Schwann as well as Virchow, which made the cell theory. Very important slide which I'm going to explain you right now. So let's do our the discussion about the cell theory. All right, students. So now cell theory. First, as I said, Skleden and Schwann were the people who had started to give. So basically, with the help of Skleden and Schwann and Rudolf Virchow's conclusions, we have three main principles of cell theory. What is it? Three main principles of cell theory. Now what were those three principles? Very important question it is. First principle was all living things, all the biotic organism, all living things are composed of what? They are composed of cells. What are they composed of? They are composed of cell. Now, the first theory given was all living things, all the biotic things are composed of cells. All of them have cells in them, and with that cells only the other things arise. So, this was the first principle. Second principle was cell, as I had explained in the beginning also, cell is the basic structural as well as what? Structural and functional unit of life. I didn't write unit. Yeah, functional unit of life. The second principle stated that when I say cells, so cells are the only things. Those are the structural as well as functional. This thing is important. If you write just one and leave, no, you're not getting marks. Structural, functional, both you have to write. So it is the basic structural and functional unit. If there are no cells, organism will not be formed. Now let's see the third principle. That is, third principle. Okay, change my pen. Okay. So third principle was that given by Rudolf Virchow, that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. Now, what does this mean is that if there are new cells to be formed, those cells will be formed from the old cells only. It's not like they will suddenly a new cell will come from somewhere. No, the old cells which are there, from them only the new cells will arise. So these were the three things of the cell theory given by Skleden, Schwann and Rudolf Virchow. Now we studied about this. Now let's understand about microscope. So maybe students, whenever you might have gone to your science lab, you might have used or might not have used a microscope, but you might have seen. So in a microscope there is an eyepiece through which we see. There is a body, there is a tube, then there is an adjustment knob as well, then revolving nose piece through which we can see the magnified image at how much ever magnification we want, that much. This is the arm, this is the stage where the specimen is kept. Then there is a mirror, base, inclination joint and a condenser. So then we, on that small glass sheet kind of thing, we put the specimen. Then we look under this microscope and we get to know. Now when I talk about cells, how do they look? You will say that why are we studying about microscope here? Because cells we cannot see them directly. The okay, like internally what are they, we cannot see that directly by a naked eye. So we need a electron microscope or a microscope. Yes. So cell actually it looks like this. And the nucleus, this nucleus, the main controlling body looks like this. This is the nucleus, the main body of every cell. Okay. Now there are various types of cells in the human body. For example, the nucleus, there is blood cells, there is ova, bone cell, fat cell, nerve cell. Many cells are there in the body, right? That's not only one cell is there. Nucleus is there, and blood cells mean like rbcs, wbcs, then platelets, all of those are blood cells. Then ova, the reproductive cells. Then bone cells which are present in the bone. The fat cell, which is the which make up the adipose tissue, and the nerve cell. This figure is of neuron. Correct, neuron. So these are the various cells of the human body. Now there are two major kinds of organism. First is a unicellular and other is multicellular, divided into two words: unicellular, multicellular. So uni means one, cellular means cell. So one celled organisms are unicellular animals, as simple as that. What are the examples of them? Paramecium, yeast, amoeba, bacteria. All of these are example of unicellular organism. Means they are single celled. Okay, they are they are 1 minute. So they are single celled organisms. They just have one cell in their body. They are single celled. Okay. Now when we come towards multicellular, so multi means many, cellular means again cells. So multicellular means more than one cell. Correct? Or you can say there will be many cells in that. Correct? Take suppose dogs, octopus, humans, plants. We are multicellular because we have more than one cell. We have many cells in the body. Now if we have many cells in our body, do all of them do the same work? No. There is a division of labor in cells. What do we mean by labor over here? We mean work. So division of work, each cell has different works to do. Each cell type specializes in performing one particular function. It's not like all the cells are doing one thing only. They all the cells have different things to do, right? And they are located in different places. Nerve cell, red blood cells, muscle cells, bone cells, fat cells, reproductive cells, everything, they are divided. Why are these many cells? Because they do different things in different places. The more the high organism is, there will be more division of labor. Best example is we humans. We humans are so developed. Correct? We humans are so developed, and we have so many things to do. We have a brain, we have lungs, we have stomach, digestive system, respiratory system, circulatory system, so many systems here. So how, who handles them? The cells do the work. So they divide the work among themselves, and then they do the work. All right. So next is, what are the differentiation? Again, it is a what can I say, 5 marker question. Okay. Like in your exam they will ask, write down the differentiation of unicellular and multicellular organism. So what are the three ones? Okay, the marking, okay, I'll just make it, it's 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So first one is unicellular, they are made up of a single cell, whereas multicellular, they are made up of a large numbers. And now multicellular don't say like 10, 15, 100 cells. No, they are made up of very, very many cells in the body. Okay. In unicellular, all functions are performed by a single cell. As I had given the example, amoeba, bacteria, paramecium, all of these, they are just single cell. So all the work is done by a single cell itself. Okay. Next is, different cells perform different functions. Like in we humans, there are many cells, and all those cells do different work. They don't do the same work, right? So in third one, about unicellular, there is no division of labor. So in unicellular organism, no division of labor. This why? Because there's only one cell. What labor will they divide? So there is just one cell, so no labor division. But in multicellular, as there are many cells together, so there is division of labor present. Different cells do different work. Now for reproduction, in unicellular organism, the same cell does the reproduction also. You might have studied in your 7th standard about nutrition in animals. You can even look at my videos also. I had did the amoeba this thing explanation. So amoeba, how does it reproduce? It divides. It does with the help of binary fission, it divides. That one cell, the nucleus of it, divides into two daughter cells. So the cells, that one single cell only does the reproduction. But in multicellular organism, the specialized cells, the reproductive cells, germ cells, take part in reproduction. And obviously, unicellular have short lifespan. Why? Because they just have one cell. They just have one cell, so what will be their lifespan? One cell has the burden to do everything, so they have very short lifespan. But multicellular organ, they have many cells, everything is going on properly, so they have a longer lifespan. Now let's move towards our next topic, which is the components of cell. This is just an quick glimpse. We have the two endoplasmic reticulums, we have a nucleus, we have a nuclear envelope, nuclear pore, ribosomes, secretory vesicle, lysosome, plasma membrane, Golgi apparatus, then we have mitochondria, and many things are there, right? So we are going to study all these things in our upcoming lectures in detail. So let's start with the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. So where is the definition, then I'll explain you the diagram. So cell membrane, when I say, it is a biological membrane that separates the interior of all cells from the outside environment, which protects the cell from its environment. Now when I say the cell membrane, it is also known as plasma membrane. It is nothing but also known as plasma membrane. So this plasma membrane is a border. It is a border boundary kind of thing on the outside of the cell. It is like a covering to the cell to protect it, to separate it from the outside environment and protect the cell. Now what is it made up of? It is made up of these many things, right? It has cholesterol, integral protein, peripheral protein, canal protein, alpha hex protein, globular protein, glycoprotein, and carbohydrates. So see this. What happens is, the main structures, these main structures which you can see, it is just made up of the proteins. Okay, it's these yellow things, they are just made of proteins. On those proteins we have the peripheral and channel proteins, okay, which are located in this blue ones, and on them we have carbohydrates and cholesterol also. And after that, we in these tiny outgrowths, which are the glycolipids, correct. So this more structure will understand in 11, 12, so don't need to take problems. So here just remember that this is what the structure is. And what are the characteristics now? Outermost in animal cells. When I say in animal cells, it is the most outer layer. Why not in plant cells? Because plant cell have a cell wall also. So after cell wall comes the cell membrane or plasma membrane. So that's why it is outermost in animal cells. Okay. After that, it is very thin, flexible, and living membrane. So it is a very thin structure. Okay, it is very flexible as well, and it is a living one. It's not dead, it's living. Okay, now the next important point is it has fine pores and it is semi permeable. What do we mean by semi permeable? Now let me explain you that. Now, students, remember that cell membrane along with plasma membrane, it is even known as semi permeable permeable membrane. It is even known as semi permeable membrane also. Why is it? Now what do we, first of all, the question is, what do we mean by semi permeable, correct? So when I say semi permeable, okay, so when I say semi permeable, what does it mean is that it the semi permeable membranes like cytoplasm, not cytoplasm, sorry, the cell membrane, what does it do is that it allows only certain types of particles to move. What does it do? It allows certain type of particles, certain type of particles to move in or out. So in if the anything has to go inside the cell, it has to see whether the semi permeable membrane, the cell membrane, will determine whether it will go or not, whether it is safe to go inside or not. Or else if anything from outside also wants to come inside, like from inside of the cell wants to come outside, so that also semi permeable membrane controls that whatever, it will allow just certain particles to move in or out. Okay, and it even has tiny holes in it. It has tiny holes in it, right? So what does it do? It allows just small particles to move through it, and it is that membrane that only allows very specific types of particles to move. Okay. So, and last point is that the cell membrane is made up of lipoproteins. Okay, it's made up of lipoproteins. What is their function? So what is the function of cell membrane? It separates the contents of cell from its surrounding cell and outside things, separation by cell membrane. Regulates the entry of certain solutes and ions. It is semi permeable, that's why. And it even maintains the shape of cell, but only in animal cells. Only in animal cells it maintains the shape also. Okay. Now next comes cell wall. Now cell wall is only there in plants. We are just talking about plants over here now, because plants have the cell wall now. So it is a non-living rigid layer surrounded by the plasma membrane. Not surrounded, it is surrounding the plasma membrane. So cell wall is like, first there is your cell membrane, and after the cell membrane is the cell wall in plants. Okay, and it is made up of cellulose. Very important point, it's made up of cellulose. It is freely permeable, means anything can come, anything can go, and it is found only in plant cells. So there is a cell wall, cell membrane, then there is a chain of cellulose molecules inside, and even there are micro and macro and micro fibrils inside the cell wall. Now, what are the functions of it? It gives rigidity and shape to the plant cell, only to the plant cell. It allows substances to go in and out without any hindrance, and it provides protection also, like the plasma membrane. Now let's move towards the next organelle, which is cytoplasm. Now cytoplasm is what? It is a liquid, okay? It's a liquid jelly kind of substance, and all the parts together inside the plasma membrane excluding nucleus. So cytoplasm, okay, what do we mean by cytoplasm here is that it contains of water, soluble, insoluble, inorganic, organic compounds, and other organelles like rough endoplasmic reticulum, lysosomes, mitochondria, and nucleus. Everything is present inside the cytoplasm. So all parts together are present in the plasma membrane excluding the nucleus. Okay, now what is the function of cytoplasm? It has different organelles contained in it to perform different functions. Different functions are performed by the different organelles and which are there in this cytoplasm itself. And all the metabolic activities occur here only, because every organelle is here. Okay, so that's why metabolic activities also occur in the cytoplasm only. So let's move towards our next and the last organelle for today, that is nucleus. So nucleus is the large cell organelle, and it is the most important, and you can say it is the headquarter. Okay, it is the headquarter of the cell. It is the headquarter of the cell. Okay, it is mostly spherical in shape, and it is very thick and dense. There is a nuclear membrane with pores inside to allow substances to enter and leave. So there are pores. Again, it is permeable, not freely, or like it is selectively permeable. Whatever things are there, only those things can come and go in the nuclear membrane. It contains network or thread-like structure called chromatin fiber. So this nucleus has chromatin fiber in it. What does it has? It has chromatin fiber. Now this chromatin fiber converts itself into chromosomes. It converts itself into chromosomes, and those chromosomes are nothing but the genetic material. DNA, RNA is also present inside this nucleus only. What is the function of nucleus? It regulates the cell functioning. If removed, the cell will immediately die. So remember, as I said, nucleus is the headquarter. If I remove the nucleus, the cell will immediately die, because it is the only one who does the work of the cell. Every regulation continuation is done by the nucleus, and it controls and contains chromosomes, which are the barriers of genes, and they control the heredity character, genetic material. It has the genetic material in it, correct? Genes are there, chromosomes are there, exon is there, intron is there, all of this structure. Chromosome is there. This is what are chromosomes, correct? Remember chromosomes, XY chromosomes you have studied, allosomes, autosomes, right? So chromosomes are present, correct? So all, okay, I'll just say this or else you won't be able to see. Yeah, so it contains chromosomes and everything. All right. So this is the function of nucleus. So what all things we studied? We studied nucleus, we studied cytoplasm, we studied the cell wall, and we studied the cell membrane also. So these four organelles are done today, and remaining organelles we are going to continue in our next class. So thank you students so much for watching today's video. I hope it was very informative and we learned many new things. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and click on the bell icon so that you get regular notifications of our video. And also don't forget to comment if you have any doubts or any other queries to ask. I'll be seeing you in the next video where we'll study about the other cell organelles also. So still till then, stay tuned and goodbye.